Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming up this evening, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been released after being held in U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody for nearly 4 months. We'll give you the specific details and hear from his lawyers. Also coming up, Technical Working Committee of the National Road Safety Authority declares the use of Toyota Voxy vehicles for commercial transport as illegal, citing safety concerns linked to their design and widespread modification in Ghana. And later on the show, government officials and sachet water producers hold emergency crunch meeting over the proposed sachet water price increment. We have details of all of these and more coming your way. We have business and sports also coming up during the show, which is for the next 1 hour. Do stay with us. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Details in a jiffy.
For example,
thank you for staying with 3FM 92.7. Let's settle for the details of our stories. We are starting from the United States of America. And you'd recall that former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been in detention there for some time now. Well, the latest regarding that is that Ken Ofori-Atta has been released from the custody of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement following a judicial order. The legal team of the former finance minister, led by Justice Kusi Minka-Premo, Esquire of Minka-Premo, Osei-Bonsu, Bruce Kathleen and partners, confirmed the development in a statement. According to the statement, Mr. Ofori-Atta was released on April 7 and is currently with his family in the United States. The statement further indicated that Mr. Ofori-Atta remains fully committed to the use of due process in defending his rights as guaranteed under the United States law. However, no further details have been provided by the authorities handling the case. Mr. Ofori-Atta had been in ICE custody since January 2026. His case is scheduled to be heard on April 27 after a U.S. court adjourned proceedings on January 20. Meanwhile, back in Ghana, an arrest warrant has been issued seeking the return of the former minister to stand trial over alleged corruption. He is accused, together with 5 others, of engaging in acts that allegedly led to causing financial loss of more than 1.4 billion Ghana cedis to the state in the Strategic Mobilization Limited contract saga. We'll get some further details of what exactly all of this means in a moment when we try and get some legal understanding of what it actually does mean, whether Ken Ofori-Atta is now a free man or the initial charges under which the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement picked him up, which was the overstay of his visa, if that has also been cleared and he is a free man now. And if so, does he still have the intentions of returning to Ghana anytime soon? And that would mean that the earlier request, we are told that government had put together and sent to the U.S. government asking for his extradition, is also a conversation that is still in the mix. So we'll try and get these very different perspectives of it and give to you. But the letter that we have cited coming from the letter from the legal counsel of the former finance minister, which is the Minka-Premo, Osei-Bonsu, Bruce Kathleen and partners, that is the name of the law firm. We are told that it reads, and I'm just reading parts of the press release. It says on April 7, 2026, Ken Ofori-Atta was released from ICE detention pursuant to judicial order. He is home with his family. Mr. Ofori-Atta remains fully committed to the use of due process in defense of his rights as guaranteed under the Constitution and laws of the United States. He and his family remain thankful to God and all those who have offered prayers and support during this period, and it is signed by Justice Kusimenka Premo Esquire, solicitor for Ken Ofori-Atta, and it is dated the 8th, which is today. But the release of Ken Ofori-Atta happened yesterday from ICE custody, where he has been for roughly about 4 months now. He's currently, we are told, with his family. But there is some backstory to all of this, and for those of you who have been following, as former finance minister, the office of the special prosecutor had been looking for him more or less, but that was after he had left the shores of Ghana that news came that the OSP had a number of cases that he wanted, or questions that he wanted Ken Ofori-Atta to answer to. And while in the US, we are told that government had initiated steps to get him extradited. What's the latest regarding that extradition, extradition proposal sent by the Ghanaian government to the US authorities? And now that he's been released from ICE detention, what exactly does that mean for Ghana's interest in having him back? I'm told that we have private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu joining us for a quick chat on this. Mr. Kpebu, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. Hello, Council. Good evening.
Evening, name.
Yes. Good to have you. What would your immediate reaction be following the fact that, well, it looked like government had to stay its hands in trying to get Ken Ofori-Atta back into the jurisdiction because he was in ICE custody facing a totally different set of questions with the U.S. government. Now we are told that he's been released. What do you make of all of this?
Okay, yeah, so the starting point for this conversation will always be that this is needless. We self-inflicted goal by Asiedu-Dartey because he saw Ofori-Atta leaving and he didn't arrest him, then came to lie to us. That will always have to begin the conversation from this point because we have to hold Asiedu-Dartey responsible that he didn't rise against his conflict of interest, his personal relationship with Ofori-Atta, Gabriel Ochredaku, and Ekufuado. And look at the embarrassment he's brought us. The money we are losing, paying lawyers, trying to bring down Ofori-Atta. That's the first point. Now, when you leave that and you go to the other point about the state of affairs, the fact that he's been released is a bad sign because maybe I didn't join you early, Martin, but I thought at a point we're told that the extradition proceedings had begun. So, if extradition proceedings have begun and the person is released, oh, that's a bad sign, extremely bad sign, because it's not easy to get bail when a person is facing extradition proceedings. No, it's not easy at all. So let's do this, Martin, unless maybe I didn't join you early.
No, you actually joined at the right time. So we actually had just started conversation. Then you are our first guest. So you can go ahead.
So the point I want us to hold on, interrogate is that from what we're seeing, you see, let's go back a bit. He was first picked by ICE, and then ICE has now released him. But whilst he was in ICE custody, the extradition papers and all that were sent to the judge. Remember the first sitting, or so if it's not the first, the second, where the judge says, okay, he hasn't seen the extradition documents, so they should be brought to his attention. So subsequently it was done. So now, with the immigration judge seeing the extradition proceedings, and still releasing Ofori-Atta, and at the same time, the fact that the extradition people, that's the Justice Department, that's the equivalent of our Attorney General, did not cause the immediate arrest of Ofori-Atta, that presents a very complex case. Because look, you can check, it's not easy for somebody who is facing extradition to get bail. No. I know that for a fact. Look, as far back, well, they can change their laws. So, well, we will see. Maybe as it's a developing story, we can see if they've changed their laws. Because as of 2016, when the Supreme Court was dealing with a case I took the popular non-bailable case, in which the Supreme Court said all offenses in Ghana are bailable, subject to the discretion of the judge. So the judge should look at all the facts. In that particular case, called Martin Pebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2, the Supreme Court reviewed the U.S. law and saw how, for them, when it comes to extradition proceedings, they don't grant bail. It's almost impossible. Then they said, look, but this is Ghana. For us, let's open it. Let a judge decide. So a judge in Ghana, unless they change their law yesterday, we'll Google to see.
Right.
But at least Ankaban, yes.
No, yeah, I'm getting the point you're making. So from what you're saying, when he was in ICE detention would have been the most appropriate time to, through the legal process, get him to be handed to Ghana through the extradition treaty we have with the US. But now that they've released him, it makes it a lot more complex and cumbersome. That's the point you're making.
Yes, because though we've not been told that the extradition proceedings have come to an end, the fact that he's on bail sends a bad signal. So, Martin, as we speak now, the extradition proceedings are also supposed to be ongoing in a different court. This ICE one is an immigration matter because he overstayed his visa. That's why he was taken on. And not even this particular overstaying his visa. When this case came, some of us said that, look, from my experience, more than 20 years ago in America, it was always common that when somebody applies for permanent residence, whilst it's in the US, even if he went with a visitor's visa, he could overstay. Then when the papers are ready, what they do is that then they will find the person. So you have a lot of Ghanaians. If you interview ordinary Ghanaians, they need not be lawyers. Thousands of Ghanaians can tell you that they enter the US with a visitor's visa, and it's not only Ghanaians, nationals from all over the world. A lot of people enter with what we call the B1, B2 visitor. That's tourism, those kind of visitors, B1 and business, B1, B2, business and tourism. So when you enter, you want to stay in America, you want to become a permanent resident. When you apply, of course, that's you have children or relations who can apply for you. So when the application is pending, like what Ofuriata did. So one of in Ofuriata's case, his son applied for him when he entered the US for him to become a permanent resident. You know, I brought that out some months ago. People denied it. Thankfully, about 2 months later, Ofuriata's lawyers came and confirmed that yes, his son had applied for him. So what I'm saying is that when you overstayed, it wasn't anything extraordinary. It's something that thousands of Ghanaians have been doing. They enter with the normal B1, B2 visitor's visa or business visa. Then they overstay whilst trying to get their papers done. When the thing goes through as part of finalization, then the person is fined. Is it $1,000 or something? It's not any big money for overstaying. Then they correct the papers. Then the person lives there forever. I mean, like he can stay there forever. That's the permanent resident. So this Ofuriata one, we said that, hey, this thing, it wasn't too complex. The ICE case wasn't too complex. So because thousands of Ghanaians do the same thing. So we're now hoping that the key thing is the extradition. And once they got in, the extradition judge would then order that if ICE was going to release him, they need him at the extradition side, because as part of the extradition proceedings, you always have to be in custody. If they don't have you, that's why I said the Supreme Court in Pebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2 analyzed it and saw that it's almost impossible. I'm not saying totally impossible, but it's rare to get bail while standing extradition. That's the same thing we do, I mean, generally in Ghana, but ours is more open. So my main point is that once the extradition proceedings judge did not take Ofuriata away from ICE when they were releasing him, it's sending a bad signal for our extradition case. It's sending a bad signal. It weakens our case.
And so what options are available to the Ghanaian authorities, that is the Attorney General? How else can they proceed with this? Are we probably just going to reiterate or probably set a reminder to the U.S. government that this particular man is of interest to us, and these are the reasons why we need him, so like a recollection so that they can start the process of extradition if that has not been started initially or probably was halted along the way because he was going through a separate case with the U.S. government. How else would you advise Ghana approaches this?
Good, excellent. I like the way you put it. So you see that this one is like in life, yeah, you're going to war. There are many strategies. So the immediate one is what we are doing on radio now. As you're saying, are we reminding the U.S. government that this person is of great interest to us? He has 5 cases hanging around his neck whilst he was in office as finance minister and brother to the president. He did DDEP. Yes, I know DDEP is not one of the charges, but I'm showing the context that this is a man who inflicted misery, penury, death, and all the other kind of misdeeds on millions of citizens. So once he has a case pending against him, citizens want to see him to be held accountable. Okay, so it's good we are making the noise to the public to remind the U.S. authorities that this is not an ordinary suspect or accused person. He's of great interest to us. Good. Then, as we're doing that, the next point is, yes, like you said, Attorney General getting in touch with the U.S. authorities so that they can give us an update that Nanda Ofori-Atta is on bail. How is the extradition case proceeding? Yes, let the Attorney General do that exercise and give us an update. And those who keep saying the Attorney General talks too much, I beg to differ. You see now, we are all wailing because we are like, hey, as I've told you, when they grant bail, when somebody is facing an extradition case, Charlie, it's a bad sign. So we need to hear from Attorney General after he's contacted his U.S. counterparts to see, is it in a special circumstance, or is it meaning that our extradition case is weak? Is the extradition case weak? That's how come he's been granted bail. So we need to hear from the Attorney General, and people should stop saying that he's talking too much. If he doesn't give us an update, we'll speculate and spill a lot of energy.
And that could even muddy the water the more. And
excellent.
More to buttress the point of the regular updates we're getting from the Attorney General. So, since his last court appearance, Ken Ofori-Atta, that is, there has been a long silence. So, like you indicated, the citizens were not getting updates. Those who are interested in the case, no updates, probably because the key individual that the U.S. government was working with, that is the Attorney General, had also gone on, a long silence. So people would naturally feed that silence with speculation, and that in itself could further murky the case. So I also agree with the point, and also because of my line of work, we always want information. So the press conferences, we were liking it because it gave us information and an idea of where the cases had gotten to, across board.
Excellent.
So
excellent.
The 27th April, we are told Ken Ofori-Atta will be appearing in court. He has he has a hearing scheduled for April 27. So even in that stead, it tells us that we don't know whether this release from ICE custody brings finality to the issue or it is still a running issue. He's just been granted bail, and on the back of that, what could that mean? So is it possible that ICE, based on what the U.S. laws say properly?
No, ordinarily, from the little I understand about this bond system, once he's fulfilled the bail conditions and he attends court, it will be rare for the same immigration judge to have him arrested. It will be rare. Unless the next form of arrest will be one. That's if, as you rightly said, if the case has not come to an end and they are still going on, then maybe when the case comes to an end, he has to be deported. Then that will be the next arrest in the immigration case. That's the ICE custody case. Then the next possible form of arrest will be an arrest from the extradition judge, because they are two separate courts. We haven't heard much about the extradition court proceedings. So as we both agree, when we hear from Attorney General Dr. Yini, we beg him, he should he should come out and give us the information. In every nation, you won't get it, no matter what you do. Even now, I'm beginning to find out that even when you sell ice cream, not everybody will like you. You know, there's this popular American saying that if you want everybody to like you, sell ice cream.
Yeah.
But it's turning out that some people hate sugar, so they don't eat ice cream, so they won't like you, right?
Right.
So until then, two forms of future arrest. One, if the ICE case comes to an end and he loses and he has to be deported. Then two, if the extradition case now comes up in such a way that they need him in custody. So it's still possible, but to firm up our analysis, we need to hear from the Attorney General.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you, Counsel. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening.
You're welcome.
And you had private legal practitioner Martin Pebu there, bringing some legal perspective to the conversation, which is that Ken Ofori-Atta, the former finance minister who had been in custody in the United States, you recall that he was picked up by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, which is ICE, in the U.S. for overstaying his visa. So he was actually on trial for overstaying his visa, which is an immigration offense. And it was on the back of that, or at least it was during that same period, that Ghana also said that we needed him to answer questions, very critical questions, especially because during his tenure, there were some infractions that occurred under his supervision as finance minister. So the country also had interest in having him back into the jurisdiction to answer questions. But he decided not to want to return to Ghana. And following the fact that he had overstayed his visa, the ICE agents picked him up. So he was under arrest for a different issue, whilst Ghana was also pursuing him for a totally different issue. From all indications, he has been released after about 4 months in ICE custody. The case is still ongoing. He's expected to appear on the 27th of April, which is about the next 2 weeks or so, still on the immigration issue. We would keep very close tabs on this development and update you subsequently. However, like you just heard Martin Pebu say, he is a private legal practitioner who's also followed this case very closely. You heard him say that the best, out of the many questions a lot of Ghanaians are asking, the best answer we can get will have to come from the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, regarding the extradition that Ghana had requested. We asked that the U.S. government help us bring Ken Ofori-Atta back to the jurisdiction. We don't know anything else beyond the fact that we had made that request. So we would all keep fingers crossed to see when next we'll get an update from the Attorney General's department, and then also the population or Ghanaians will get to be on the same page regarding whether or not Ken Ofori-Atta will be coming to Ghana. But from all intents and purposes, and from what he has, we are told he has done, and what his lawyers are saying, he certainly has no interest on returning to Ghana. But your thoughts are also very welcome. Clearly, as a Ghanaian, a taxpayer, or someone who's part of the national conversation, your thoughts are very welcome. We are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look for 3FM 92.7. And you can just drop a comment. We'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. This is Hot Edition on 92.7 3FM. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's turn our attention away from the US now and come to Ghana. And I'm sure many of you would have seen or heard of the Toyota vehicle called the Voxy. Well, the Technical Working Committee of the National Road Safety Authority has declared the use of Toyota Voxy vehicles for commercial transport as illegal, and they have cited safety concerns linked to their design and the widespread modification which is done in Ghana. The directive follows an investigation into the growing use of the minivans as public transport, particularly after being converted from right-hand drive to left-hand drive. Presenting the committee's final report on Wednesday, the 8th of April, the chairman, Godwin Kafui Ayeto, described the situation as a major threat to passenger safety and called for urgent regulatory action to prevent these issues that they have raised especially regarding safety, to be dealt with?
For example, under our terms of reference, we were asked to assess the engineering integrity and safety implications of right-hand drive to left-hand drive conversions for Toyota Voxy vehicles. We were asked to evaluate the suitability of such vehicles for commercial passenger transport on Ghanaian roads, analyze crash data and road safety trends involving Toyota Voxy vehicles, and make evidence-based recommendations which may include regulatory reforms, enhanced safety requirements, restrictions, or other appropriate measures to safeguard the public. So based on the work we've done, before that we did a field, we went to the field, we spoke with owners of Voxy vehicles, drivers of Voxy vehicles, passengers of Voxy vehicles, the converters, and all that. We also went through our laws, acts, legislations regarding conversions and on the use of commercial vehicles, all the rules governing that.
Right, so that is the voice of the chairman of the committee, Godwin Kafuya-Eto, who will be speaking to us in a jiffy. Before that, let's listen to the let's listen to Abraham Amalba, who is the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority. He has also called for an immediate halt of the importation, not just the fact that the cars are in the country and that they are being converted from right-hand drive to left-hand drive, but he's even asking for a total halt in the importation of the vehicles. Let's listen to him.
Nobody will have doubts about their work. And listening to the chairman, you come to a firm conclusion that some thorough work was done. The committee's work has brought to fore some of the concerns that were raised by the public. And don't forget that this whole exercise of putting up a committee was as a result of public concerns, where the public petitioned the institution, and we then put together this committee. And listening to the chairman, I'm sure most of those who petitioned, most Ghanaians who petitioned, would also come to a conclusion that the committee did a yeoman's work. At this point, it's clear that we need to partner some agencies to ensure the implementation of the reports. Off on top of my head is Customs, DVLA, Ghana Standards Authority, and then the Police MTTD. But when we look into the report in detail, we'll get more institutions. If you also look at the reports, the committee did a good work by even giving us various epochs. So they will say 1 month to 6 months, do this. 1 year to do the next year, do this. So it has given us a way as to how to implement the committee's report. And I think that we would start acting now because lives are at stake. My management and myself would have a meeting immediately to consider how to deal with this report very soon. But in the interim, we have heard what the chairman of the committee said, that the Voxy vehicles are not meant for long distance driving. That is key. If you go out here without anything at all, this message, you can carry this one out, that it is for intra-city driving, not inter-city driving. But what do we see? We see the Voxy crisscrossing the length and breadth of this country. And what I didn't know until he mentioned it is that they even raise the vehicle. That feeds into the public perception when the public send their petitions that the vehicle hasn't got, for the want of the right word, correct balance. You know, we're also being told that the ties are not for the purposes that the vehicle is being used in Ghana. So clearly we can see a myriad of problems, you know, and challenges with the Voxy vehicle. And so we'll go and deal with the issues, and very soon the media, we shall issue directives as to how to go about the Voxy.
Right, so that is the voice of the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba. Let's go to the phone lines now. We have the chairman of the Toyota Voxy Technical Working Group, Godwin Kafui Ayeto. Mr. Ayeto, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to be here. Thanks.
Right. First of all, help us understand what exactly about the vehicle, the Toyota Voxy, even caught the attention of government, for which reason the committee was set up to investigate. Is it that it doesn't have the right requirements to be on our roads, or it does but not for certain distances? What exactly was the key thing that caught the attention, for which reason you even had to do investigations?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So the reports from the public in social media, I think, caught the attention of the National Road Safety Authority, especially their involvement in vehicular accidents. And it was stated in our terms of reference that was what necessitated the formation of the committee, to find out whether indeed they are being involved in accidents, the reasons for their accidents, and if indeed they have the requisite specifications to be used as commercial vehicles.
Right. And we are also told that they are originally right-hand drives, but when they come into the country, we have our local experts converted to left-hand drive. Is that one of the key things you found out?
Yes, that's true. Yes, so during our work, we had to communicate with Toyota Chucho Manufacturing in Japan through Toyota Chucho Manufacturing Ghana. And the response was that all Toyota Voxy vehicles are right-hand drive vehicles because they were made for the Japanese market. And the Japanese market is a right-hand drive vehicle market. So any Voxy you see that is left-hand drive has been converted. The conversions take place in Ghana and Dubai, but about 90% of the conversions are done in Ghana. So it means majority of them come through our ports as right-hand drive vehicles, and then the artisans do the conversions here. Yeah.
Right. And what specifically about that conversion raises safety concerns? I have known for years now that it is actually something that is done. People bring in right-hand drive vehicles and it is converted. But what about the Voxy vehicle and this conversion raises safety concerns?
Okay. So I must say that the unsafe conversions is just one of the problems we uncovered during our working group. So pertaining to the conversions, usually they have to be manufacturer approved because you need original components and you need certified engineers. It's like doing a re-engineering. If you look at the process, it's entirely re-engineering. So we asked the manufacturer if they endorse conversions from right-hand drive to left-hand drive, or either way. They said no, and that they have received several communications to that effect, and they do not endorse any form of conversions, even if it is done rightly, due to safety reasons. We asked them if they will be okay training people to do the conversions properly. They said no. We asked them if they would like to do it at their end or get some people in Japan to do that. They said no. And the reasons for that were all safety reasons. That any kind of conversion of that nature makes the car unsafe. So after conversions, the cars are no longer, you can't call them Toyota Voxy anymore because they have been severely altered and they do no longer match the performance or the specifications of the manufacturer.
So the Toyota Voxy officials themselves have told you that converting it from right-hand drive to left-hand drive in and of itself is not safe. So they themselves will not do it.
100% affirmative.
Wow, that's quite surprising. And we are doing it, and I'm told we have in excess of over 100 of them in the country already.
Yeah, so we have at the time, I think by March, we had imported close to 8,000 Voxy vehicles into the country. And by now, I think we've exceeded that by far. And I must also say that Toyota Voxy is just a scapegoat because there are many other makes and models that are being converted, including heavy-duty vehicles. So Toyota Voxy is just a scapegoat in this regard.
That then raises the safety concerns that the Ministry of Roads, not necessarily the ministry, but the National Road Safety Authority should be paying attention to, right?
Yes, exactly. It's actually their mandate. If you look at their law, LI 2468, the National Road Safety Authority is supposed to register garages, workshops, and also determine who qualifies to offer services in the automotive sector. Very huge mandate. Now, during the field study, we realized they've not even registered a single garage. None of the converters, mechanics are registered anywhere. So we discovered a largely unregulated automotive space, which was supposed to be regulated by the National Road Safety Authority. So yes, they have a role to play in this.
Right. Two final questions, then you take leave of us. You know, there are those who were saying that the bigger reason why they were importing the Toyota Voxy was because it was primarily for family use. And still, it was right-hand drive. So maybe if one person gets one for his family and converts it into a left-hand drive, maybe on that scale, could they be pardoned? Could that person be pardoned? Because the concern we are hearing, especially from the committee, is that it's now a commercial vehicle or used for commercial purposes, which raises the safety concerns even more. So if someone is bringing just one for family use, what do the laws say about that vis-a-vis the commercial use as well?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thanks for that. So this is why I said there are many aspects to this Voxy vehicle apart from the conversion. So for instance, if you read Section 58 of the Customs Act 2015, that is Act 891, it prohibits the import of right-hand steering motor vehicles into the country. Any right-hand drive vehicles into the country. So in the first place, they shouldn't be here based on our laws. Now, we had to find a way of handling the vehicles that are already here. For personal use, somebody has done the conversion and it's being used. So in that case, we have recommended that they shouldn't be registered commercial. It should continue being used as a private vehicle, but Ghanaians should know the implications of a vehicle that has been converted. There are many issues. Even the converters themselves are telling us they are not confident of conversions done by other converters. The importers have also told us that they have experienced several defects with the vehicles while driving them. So per the law, they are not supposed to come in, but the regulators have been laxed. It's coming. Private people, I'm sure, can continue to use it, but they should be cautioned of the implications. But I'm sure the authorities will, going forward, take measures to make sure such cars don't come in. We have also stated that if Ghana wants to alter the regulation to allow the import of right-hand drive vehicles, then they have to do standards. There has to be standards for conversion, just as in Australia, New Zealand, and UK. There has to be standards. There have to be conformity. There have to be inspectors that have to check that the conversions were done properly. But as it is now, we have no standards. There are no tests going on, and the unsuspecting public is at risk.
It's at risk.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Still a lot to unpack. But then the last question there will be, what happens to those that are already in the system? Are we looking at giving them a period where they either have to, I don't know, what happens to the over 8,000 that are already in the system?
Okay, so I think National Road Safety Authority will be the best to answer this. But in our recommendation, we have stated that they should no longer be registered as commercial vehicles.
Right.
And those that have been, one of the things we discovered is that some have been registered as passenger vehicles. They have white plates, but they are at various stations loading and applying the vehicles for commercial purposes. So such vehicles, they should make sure they are not used for commercial purposes. But as to the length of time involved in implementing this, I think the National Road Safety Authority and Ministry of Transport will be the best to answer that.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving us this clarity and speaking to us this evening.
You're welcome.
And that is Godwin Kafui Ayeto, the chairman of the Toyota Voxy Technical Working Group. Further giving us, a breakdown of what they found out in their investigations, and also further confirming the fact that the Toyota Voxy vehicles that are currently plying our roads are not safe for a number of reasons. Key amongst them is that they have been altered. They are originally right-hand drive vehicles purposely for family size, to be used for small groups, family, 2-3 people, yes. But then a lot of them, over 8,000, have been imported, converted from right hand to left hand. And even those who are doing the conversion, the mechanics and the officials who are doing that, say that they cannot guarantee the safety of the vehicle. So we would wait to see what the National Road Safety Authority and the Ministry of Roads will say about this, whether the ones currently in the system would be, I don't know, I'm not sure the right approach would be to confiscate them, but what then happens to them? Or beyond that, the Director General is saying that there's going to be a total ban or halt on the importation of the vehicle, so that at least we can manage what's in the system, find the right solution to it before, if our laws are probably reviewed, we can allow further importation of the Toyota Voxy vehicles. And he says it's not just that one, but then there are other vehicles that fall foul of the law when it comes to issues of whether or not they are right-handed or left-handed. So you should also let us know if you've patronized these Toyota Voxy vehicles. What do you make of these safety concerns being raised? And are you prepared to, abandon its use? Our comment session is open for you to express yourself, and we'll be happy to hear your thoughts. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to the Hot Edition. Let's take you to Parliament now, because the national... not Parliament yet. We are going to the camp of the New Patriotic Party. The National Executive Committee of the NPP has reaffirmed an earlier directive requiring individuals who register virtually as party members to verify their details at their respective polling stations. At an emergency meeting on Wednesday attended by the party's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and other top leadership, the committee emphasized that failure to complete the physical verification process at designated polling stations will result in disqualification from voting or contesting in party elections. Director of Communications Richard Ahiagba addressed journalists after the meeting.
Those who went to the polling station to physically write their names, their names are now being entered into our database. But as for the online registration, they are all there. It will be merged at some point, but the process is ongoing. NEC actually maintained what the directive was. So if you registered online and were not able to go and verify as directed, then that situation maintains that you cannot vote and be voted for. So what directive was given still applies. What conversation is going on is how to, in merging the two registers, how we ensure that people who registered online can be vouched for at the polling station. So there's a mechanism to try and see if we can do some register exhibition at the polling station. So that's that. But the process is terminated at this point in terms of people wanting to register to vote or be voted for. The opportunity for continuous registration exists online. That has been discussed, but that will not affect the elections.
And that's Richard Ahiagba, who is the Director of Elections. He further disclosed that a committee has been constituted to review the manual for party executive officers. This follows an update presented to the committee on the ongoing membership registration drive, which has led to an increase in the number of polling stations per polling station election committee from 10 to 12.
The membership drive that was finished, and we took feedback and some minor adjustments in preparation for the polling station elections. Originally, the guidelines were allowed for 10 polling stations elections to be conducted per polling station election committee. The number was so much, and so the decision was made to increase the number of polling stations to bring down the number of election committees. So we have increased it from 10 to 25. That, for me, is the major matter that was discussed. The other ones are internal in nature that I cannot be putting out. And then also I mentioned earlier about a committee that has been put together, part of this meeting, to work on reviewing the manual for executive officers of the party executives, I should say.
Well, so you heard the voice of Richard Ahiagba there, bringing us to the next phase of our show, which is the latest in the world of business. Bismarck Owusa is here to let us know what's happening. Hello, Bismarck.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also coming up tonight, industry watchers call for more investment in Ghana's oil fields as Public Interest and Accountability Committee (PIAC) report reveals Ghana's oil and gas production dips for 6th straight month. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee (PIAC) has raised a red flag over the continuous decline in Ghana's petroleum sector, revealing that the country has now experienced 6 consecutive years of diminishing oil and gas production. Production has dropped from a high 71.44 million barrels in 2019 to 37.3 million barrels in 2025. The following report has the details. According to the 2025 PIAC annual report, the steady downward trend in output has reached a critical point, severely undermining the government's ability to generate essential revenue from the upstream sector. The report highlights that the total petroleum receipts for 2025 plummeted to approximately $770 million, a staggering 43% drop from the $1.35 billion recorded in 2025. Richard Elima is chair of PIAC.
The danger we have with the current situation is that if revenue keeps falling, it will affect our development outcomes. Mind you, this government's infrastructure push is anchored on our natural resources, particularly oil and then gold. So where our oil production keeps falling, our oil revenue will also fall, and the projected revenue that government expects to get, which it will then channel into the infrastructure projects, will also fall. So government's ability to deliver on this infrastructure promise will be imperiled.
The decline in oil and gas production can be attributed to a number of factors, including natural decline of the wells and lack of investments. Economist Professor Peter Korte highlighted the need for investments to help ramp up production.
They need to ramp up production because, but that all requires investment. It requires investment. We are not attracting enough investors into the industry. But let's also note that some investors are moving away from fossil fuel. They are going to the renewables and the rest. So you need to make it more attractive to get more investors into the sector. And as a country, it shouldn't just be external foreign investors. We as a country should also have a stake. We should increase our investment in the area through GMPC, invest more into the area so we're able to drill more wells and have an increase in production.
As the government looks toward the 2026 fiscal year, the PIAC report serves as a stark reminder. Without major injection of investment and a reversal of the production slump, the black gold that once promised to transform Ghana's economy may continue to slip through its fingers. And that was a report on industry watchers calling for more investment in Ghana's oil fields as Public Interest and Accountability Committee (PIAC) report reveals Ghana's oil and gas production dips for 6th straight year. Moving on, Ghana's economy activity recorded a slower start to 2026 with the latest monthly indicator of economic growth showing a moderation in output, largely driven by weaker performance in agriculture and industry, despite a strong expansion in the services sector. The data published by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that agriculture recorded a growth rate of 4.5%, significantly lower than the 9.3% registered in January 2025, indicating a slowdown in the sector's momentum. Despite this, it contributed 14% to overall growth. Similarly, the industry sector expanded by 7.2%, down from 9.7% a year earlier, largely due to a slowdown in oil and gas activities within mining and quarrying. The sector accounted for 29% of total growth. In contrast, The services sector emerged as the main driver of economic activity, growing by 9.6%, up from 7.7% in January 2025. This reflects an acceleration in sectors such as trade, finance, and communication. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Awusa. Oreku Ampofo is here for Sports News. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. In less than 48 hours, Legacy Rise will line up a host of boxers to compete in their latest bout, dubbed The Rise Continues, as part of efforts to uplift Ghana's boxing standard. The weigh-in took place earlier on Wednesday at Jamestown. My colleague Andrew Sifa-Bamfo was there and filed this report.
On Friday, the latest installment of Legacy Rise's bout will take place at the Bokom Arena in Accra. Ahead of the much-anticipated heavyweight clashes, boxers thronged the Jamestown Lighthouse for their respective face-off earlier on Wednesday. As part of a continuous and conscious effort to raise the standards of boxing in Ghana to the next level, CEO of Legacy Rise, Sharaf Mahama, reiterated the vision of the sports organization.
Mainly is to impact, the young athletes in, Ghana, Jamestown, rather than them venturing into, bad habits on the streets. Boxing is a way to, instill discipline and, be progressive, especially when it comes to, your habits and stuff.
So do you believe we have what it takes to produce another world champion?
Most definitely. I think we just need to, Sunday. There's a lot of talent in Ghana, so yeah.
The headline bout is expected to take place between Ghana's Theophilus Alote and Namibia's Jonas Erastus over 10 rounds for the vacant WBA Africa Gold Super Flyweight title. The 23-year-old Ghanaian has vowed to defeat his Namibian counterpart.
I'm here to do the face-off, so I want to see my opponent before I will say anything else. So they should come and support me on Friday, which is 10th April. I'm going to stop my opponent, definitely. Because no one can beat me here, no one can beat me. Because before you can beat me, you have to train more than me. And also, I'm not sitting down for you to train more than me before you can beat me. So you should expect something special from me. No pressure. I've passed all the pressure in the gym. So when I go to the ring, no much pressure on me.
Together with Alote, Sademama, who is in line to feature in the Women's WBA Africa Super Welter division, remains confident of defeating her opponent, Ivanusa Morera.
Whatever won, by God's grace, we're getting a victory regardless. I'm here to defend my title that I worked very hard for. So, yeah, I'm not going to do any predictions, but just know it's going to be a victory. I mean, there's always pressure regardless, but, Philippians 4:13 is what I live by, so it's all good.
All roads lead to the Bokom Arena as Friday determines who rises.
And so that was a report by Andrew Sifa-Bamfo. But before we go, just by way of updates from the Under-17 AFCON, where the Black Starlets have been handing a very challenging yet exciting group following the official draw for the 2026 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. Ghana has been placed in Group D alongside continental heavyweights South Africa, Senegal, and Algeria, scheduled to take place in Morocco from May 13 to June 2. The competition will feature 16 of the best youth teams across the continent battling for top honours. Ghana secured their place in the tournament after an impressive run at the 2025 WAFU Zone B Under-17 Championship in Ivory Coast, where they finished as runners-up. That's how we bring an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo.